Hello, I'm Chris, this is Gross Models, and this is episode 5, if I've looked back and worked out correctly, of the Revell Fairplay 1, 3 or 10 harbour tugboat kit. Now, as you may have noticed from the previous videos in the series, I'm doing 2 of these at a time, and so far I've done that twice. This is the knackered beat up version. I'm going to get it more knackered. I've had more practice with weathering and chipping and things, so I'm going to make this look much worse by the time we finished it. Possibly this episode, it might be the next one. It depends how long this one goes, really. This episode is basically finishing the build, which is going to be the main sort of antenna tower on the top and the top of the top cabin. Without further ado, I've previously already prepared all the parts from the last couple of sprues. So we've got several bits to be making. As I say, this is basically the top tower with the stairs and the railing around the top, little bits that go onto the tower, little struts that go down the side. There's also a couple of guide ropes to put in as well, which I'm going to do with the easy line and the radar thingies. So I'm going to get all these primed and painted up, and then we'll see about attaching them. The painting is primarily on this, as it has been with most of the kit, a combination of grey, white and blue. The main pillar itself is in, I can't remember now, whatever colour it says, A, which is blue, with little silver bits and white bit on the top, and the railings are all blue. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to get these, say, primed and painted up. I'll have to look back and see what colour primer I used. I think it was grey, but I'll go and check and use that primer, and so it matches the paint that I've done previously on it, although I say it's only the top towery bit, so it doesn't make too much difference. I'm pretty sure it's grey, but I'm going to check. I'll get these painted up, and then we'll see about assembling. See you soon. Okay, that's all the bits painted up. I've done, say, the main body in blue, put the white bit on the top and the silver bits on the other little things, various other little bits and things painted up. These have got an aluminium top to them, which the other platforms didn't, apparently, but oh well. Right, following the instructions, there's one bit that I didn't put on last time, which is this grey bit that I've now pinged everywhere, because that's what I do. There it is, I see it. That's why you should always have a tidy bench when you're working things, because it's a lot easier to find stuff when it pings off. Right, so this just goes on the back there. Yep, that way round. And I'll put it down again, didn't I? Oh. No, I can't see it. It's got to be somewhere, hasn't it? There it is. I'll put it down over there. What did I put it over there for? So, as ever, I'm going to be using Tamiya extra thin. It goes over that bit, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue on there, and then put that where it needs to go, and give it a few seconds of holding it in place for it to get held in place, and then that will be pretty much fine, left to its own devices for a short while to make sure that's stuck down. Right, next up we've got what we got. Let's sort out the bits first. We've got the lights, the little I assume it's some sort of searchlight thing, the little post, not that one, the little blue post, and the light the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4 bits. Yep. Right, so let's move all this back a bit without getting anything stuck to my hand. Yep, there we go. Then we can see what we're doing. Right, we have a light that goes over on those 2 posts there. So they just go in on their own little pegs on the bottom. So, same as ever. A little bit of glue. Putting the light on. One facing forward and one facing backwards. that's them, that's the easy bit. Then we've got this that goes on facing backwards onto this hole there. So again, it's easier to glue a post than a hole. So I'll put a little bit of that on there. Drop that in there. Nice. And the post goes in that little hole over the other side. So as it's a small hole, it's actually easy to drop that in there. Then I'm going to use a pair of tweezers to grab that and hopefully not ping it everywhere. And that just sits in there. So we're populating the top of the cabin thing there. Right, then next up on the instructions we've got putting in the ladders either side, the railings around the top, and then doing some work with the post. The ladders and the railings I'm going to do off camera. Basically it's just a case of getting, so things like, let's get which side's which. That one goes on this side, so there's a couple of pegs there that need gluing and just putting in like that. Actually, might as well, while I'm showing you, might as well just do it because it's just as easy. Just going to add a little couple of dots of glue to the top posts and the two pegs that go into those two holes, and move the bit at the top while I'm doing it. Now this is the nice shiny version. I decided to use the nice shiny version because basically I didn't break any of the bits getting them off the spruce. The little railings and that's going to go on the top. So I thought I might as well use these as the nice bits, because there's always a chance that when I get the other bits off the sprue, something's going to go wrong and one of them's going to split and break. So I thought I might as well do this as the nice one. Then if it does break, then the next one's the nasty one. So there we go. Yeah, that's not quite in there, so I'm just going to manipulate that a little bit. To get those fully home into the little location pins there. So that's that. I'm going to do the same the other side and get the other bit and the railings around the top, which are just a case of gluing them in place. The other bit that's going to be more fun is going to be the tower post, which has got the two radar things going onto it. Let's get them on the right way round. That one and that one. Right, this is the one with it sideways, so that goes down the bottom onto that bit there. So as ever, a little bit of glue where it needs to go. Just holding it in place for a few seconds. It's quite a largish heavy bit, so it's going to be very easy to get wrong and bend when you're not playing around with it. So I'm going to do this now and then put this aside to make sure that that sets on there properly. So that's that there. So I'm going to put that aside for now. The little black and silver post bits go sort of onto the other little posts, so I'll leave these to dry fully before I put them on there. And then the last bit will be getting that installed onto the top of the tower itself. Goes right at the back there on the thing there. So I'm going to get the rest of the railings stuck on there and then be back for the final little bit. That's got everything onto the mast and the railings around. They're going to need some touching up, as things always do once they've been glued on, but that's not a problem. The mast itself is obviously going to go just in there, and it's got a couple of these guide, I don't know if they're wires or poles or whatever, but they need putting on as well. So I'm going to do those now. I'm going to add a bit of glue to the surrounds for that post. I think those little bits on there need to be blue as well, because they're obviously leading up onto this bit. So I'll do those when I'm touching up on the other bits when this is set. So that's that on there, all square like that. And these bits have got one little bit at the top that's sort of triangular, which goes into a little indentation just below this side piece. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue in there and a little bit on the end of the piece there, and figure out how I'm going to get that in there. I think I'm going to go for the hole first and then get that bent in roughly the right place and get some magnification on the job. While this is still a little bit wet, I can that's never going to reach there. What's that all about then? Alright, let's have a look at the other side, see if that's any better. That side obviously goes there to there. That's better. Maybe the post wasn't quite upright or twisted or something. So let's try and twist that round, get that into the right place up the top, and do the same the other side. Let's have a look inside, but that's basically that. I'm going to play around with that and get that into the right places, but that's that. A little bit of touching up, and then that's pretty much the kit done. So I'll see you when that's sorted. Right, I've touched up the paint, glued it all in place, and I'm ready to do the final couple of bits. There's obviously decals to do, which I'd forgotten about, but now I remembered, it's fine. Also, I'm playing with, for the first time, Easy Line. Now this, hopefully you can see it on the camera there, is basically an elastic thread that's very fine, and it's designed for sort of ship rigging, biplane, and any airplane sort of rigging, and it's very elastic. Apparently it stretches up to 7 times its length, but I'm not going to be stretching it quite that much. I've cut a bit off the spool. It comes with a 100-foot spool, which is going to last me forever. So the problem I've had, let me move that to one side because otherwise it's going to get lost. It won't last me forever. And I can't pick it up now because my tweezers aren't exactly the same length each end. Right, the problem I have, I've not been able to find any detailed pictures of the, I've found hundreds of pictures of the tug, but none show me exactly where the rigging go. It shows it in the instructions coming from the top of these silver bits down and out a bit, but it can't go straight down because then this wouldn't be able to rotate around it. So I think it comes out to the front, which sort of supports these bars holding it up, and they're obviously not rigging for flags or sails or anything. It's like a support thing. So I'm going to pull it down to the top, to the front of this, the floor, sort of by the corner there. Now, the way I'm going to do this, and the way I've understand it works, we'll find out for sure, is you get the rigging itself, the Easy Line, and you get some super glue. I've got a little dab of super glue that I've just got a little bit on the cocktail stick here. I'm just going to dab that down where I need it to be, and then just touch the end of the Easy Line to it. Hopefully I'll be able to see what I'm doing without getting magnification involved. Now that should set in a couple of seconds, and that should give me one end of this Easy Line attached, which it does feel like it has. So I'm then going to stretch this and actually stretch it a bit, not that much because that will snap out the glue that wasn't fully set. So let's go back again. I'll add a touch more glue. I might give it a few seconds longer to set and not play around with it quite so much. So we get the end of the easy line where it needs to be. It looks like it's where it needs to be. I'll give that a chance to dry in there, and then, as I say, I'm going to pull it out and stretch it a bit just so it's tight, not, you know, really tight, and I'll be pulling it up to where I need it to go. So hopefully that's dried enough. No, it hasn't. Okay, I need to give it a bit longer than that. Learning experience, learn with gross, that's what we're doing. I should have done an easy line video short. Right, we'll get that where it should be. In theory you could tie it off in place, but that's if you're using like a twine or something, you'd need to tie it in place. With the easy line you shouldn't have to. So I'm going to make sure that dries properly. And as I say, I'll be putting it up to there, or there-ish, and I'm just going to pull it a little bit tighter, put another dab of super glue just at the top there, and then I can cut off the excess and do again the same the other side, and another bit down the back here, because that is where flags go. There's a couple of flags to go on it there. So hopefully that should be enough. I'm going to pull it, I say, enough so it's tight but without putting too much pressure on it. Dab of glue on there, and that should, yep, it looks like that is attached there. It's fine enough that you can see it, but it's not really, you know, screaming at being in your face. I'm gonna think about how I'm going to cut that. I didn't think that through. I've got a knife that isn't as sharp as it should be, really. It should be sharp enough for this, although maybe it isn't. There we go. So that's that. I'll do the same, as I say, on the other side, and the same on the back, and then it will be time for some decals, and that will be it finished. Obviously I've got to do the same again to the old wrecked one. I'm not going to film all the steps of that. I might do a couple of bits where I'm going to put in some damaged railings, but you've seen all that before, no doubt, when I was doing the other ones previously. So I'll catch up to that, and I'll see you in a moment. So I've touched up the paintwork in a couple of places here and there, made it all nice and tidy, put the rigging on, and given it a light coating of pledge just as a clear coat, so I can put the decals on, which is the next step. I've got the decals there, obviously the couple that I've used previously for the safety equipment and that sort of thing, but pretty much the rest of these, or a lot of these, are going to have to go on now. So I've got myself a new blade in my knife, got some tissue paper and a bowl of warm water. So with the decals we're going to start no particular place. I'm just going to pick one and go. Now there's a couple of flags there which I'm going to leave till last because they're right at the top and likely to get in the way, so I'm not going to do those immediately. What I am going to do is start on the side there. So we've got the little star thing there, number 5, that goes on the white bit either side there. So it looks like that they're both number 5. So I'm going to start cutting those out. God, forget how nice it is to use a new blade. You'd hardly add up any pressure to actually cut these things out. Really nice. So that's those. Cut off the paper. Get the decals well away from any water that you're going to be playing around with. And I also like to cut the number off, so we've not got the number, because it will just come floating around in the paper there. One other thing, a small pair of tweezers, just to give you something to grip. Now I'm gripping the paper not on the decal itself, but just off to one side of it. Just a quick dip and a little wave around in the water, so it's freshly drawn warm water, so it won't take very long for anything to happen. So that will loosen those off and they'll start to be able to be moved anytime now. Now looking at this, we've got obviously two colours of the stars, so we're doing it that way up, so the red bits are at the top, bottom, left and right, and the blue bits are at the other angles. So I'm just going to slide this off, carefully gripping just with the sides and getting that in about the right place. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, I'm going to be using microset and microsol because they really help get decals in the right places and things. So I'm just going to get a little bit of that and paint over the decal. It sort of softens the edges and makes it adhere a little bit nicer. So we've got that in the right place. Just going to rotate it a little bit to get it so the right orientation there, and that looks good. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Doesn't matter if I turn this exactly upside down, because as long as the red bits are in the right place, we're good to go. Get that again in the right place. There's still some microset on the brush there to get it in the soften down a bit and let you move it just a little bit. No, not quite enough. So let's get another brush full. Give it a good soaking, and you can often move it around with the brush. There we go. That looks, again, just about right. So, get rid of the packing paper, don't need that anymore. Pretty much that's it. I know everyone's obviously, pretty much everyone's done decals before, but it's always nice. Once they're all on, I'll give them a cover over with the red, a microsol, which basically dissolves any of the clear carrier film from the back of the decal and just leaves the paint basically. So I'm going to get the rest of these decals on. There shouldn't be any problems with any of them. If there is, I'll come back and see you. When we do the flags, I'll come back and see how I'm going to work that. And yeah, almost there. Almost there. That's all but two of the decals on. I've touched up some of the painting. I put the green and red little paint lights on the side there, and yeah, all the decals around the side all sorted. Almost there. The last two to put on are the flags. Now these are done quite interestingly. There's two sides of the flag on one decal, so I'm just getting that in the water. Now this one goes at the top, and there's one other one with the star on it to go underneath. So I'm just going to do this one on camera, and then I'll finish off the last one. Now I've put the easy line on here. There's actually two strands of it, so I'm going to put one on each, hopefully, assuming it works that way. So basically I've got the decal off. Now obviously I need to get it the right way up, which is the red at the top. I'm going to thread that through one bit of the easy line and take it up, and then fold it over, trying to get it to line up both sides. Not quite there, but I still got a little bit of movement to it, so I can just get that slightly apart and reattached, and that gives you the loose flag on a mast, just as you would hope it was going to be. So I'll get the last one done, and then so the last few bits done on the old damaged version, and then I need to do a bit more weathering on that one. So first up is getting the last few decals on both of them. There we go, that's that just together. Slide that back up to the top, and hopefully that when that dries, that will dry in place, but if not, I can just add a touch of super glue underneath that there. So that's a flag, and ready to go for the second one. So I'll see you once that's done and we're ready to go with some more weathering on the other boat. See you in a moment. So I finished all the decals on the old one, but they all look a bit too new. Although the kit is a bit weathered and worn, it's not nearly there yet. I'm going to make this really old and knackered. So the first thing I need to do is basically knacker up the decals. So they're all on there, all nice and shiny and new, but they don't want to be new. So I'm going to be using a combination of just some tweezers and a knife, just to sort of add a little bit of wear and damage to bits of it here and there. So sort of the edges of some of these big bits, I'm just going to chip away and then brush away the bits that are flaked off. So already, just like that, it makes it look a bit more worn and knackered. So things like obviously the big number bit there, some of that's going to be gone from the edges. Even the big, nope, I'll re-glue that in a minute. The star is going to have a few matches, scratches and marks in it. Just all of the decals are going to be a bit worse for wear. And the next step after that is going to be using the rust primer again. I'll show you just a little bit of that. Just going to get some of that out on a palette and basically add some more, like I did on the top tower, but to the corners here and parts that would wear a lot. So I'm going to almost dry brush it, pick some up on the brush and then just remove some of it on a tissue, and then just go around the edges. I will actually put some on without dry brushing as well, just a bit more, I'd say, noticeable on corners and edges, especially of edges of things that are sort of person height, where they get worn and knocked as people walk round and scrape things. So scrapes perhaps on foot level, sort of in there. Just make it look worse for wear, especially on handrails and things where the paint would wear off. Add some chips in there. Also doing that with the knife as well. Not so much cutting, but scraping. Just so I can go back down to sort of the primer, make it look a bit worn. Because this is, I say, the kit that's going to be a bit worn. Let me get rid of that engine for now. So yeah, just not sharp knife, just using the blunt edge, just to scrape away a bit of paint here and there, leaving some primer underneath, and generally dirtying it up. So I'll get some more of that done, and then that's pretty much going to be done for the build on this. Obviously the new shiny one's going to look new and shiny, and this one's going to look old and knackered, which is the plan. So I'll get that done and basically show you the two of them together when they're done. And that's finished the main weathering. All the decals on and chips up, and it looks old and knackered, which is exactly what I was going for. It's obviously very apparent when you see it next to the new shiny version. I'm quite happy with how that's come out. I don't know if I want to go any heavier. I think I might add a bit more here and there, just to sort of make it look worse, basically. But I'm going to leave that like that for now and put it aside, ready for the diorama that I'm going to put together of it. So that is the end of this stage, this part. They're both built and finished, basically. Let me pull the camera back up a little bit further so you can actually see some comparisons of the two. I'm happy with how they come out. I might make it a bit worse, but that will come along with the diorama video. So I'm going to call it a day now for this build. Indeed, for both of the tug builds, the two tugs are complete. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the build, and it's given you something different to think about instead of just building, let's say, one kit or one nice shiny kit. If you've got two of the same thing, do them very different. It's not overly different. The build itself was obviously very similar, but they certainly look like the same boat, but in different stages of its life. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. It's been fun building it. It's been quite a long process, quite a drag, but I got there in the end. Stick around. I say soon I'll be doing the diorama of them in a sort of dry dock and in the water, which is going to be quite interesting. So stick around for that at some point. And as ever, I hope you're enjoying the channel. Like and subscribe, and come back for more. See you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.